My session is on leadership and leader development. Leader development, which is the development of one person, can be done through executive coaching. Leadership development is the development of several leaders. Organizational development is the development of several leaders and the organizations, the connections, between the entities, between individuals. Now, we will use a case study which was Everest 1996 to explain leadership and human behavior. Everest 1996 is a story of emotion, courage, and leadership and followership. Since 1992, a change had happened in Mount Everest. One point of time, it was the mountaineer who used to go up Mount Everest. However, something changed around the early 90s, 1992, 1993. There were guides who had been Everesters before, started to take clients up Mount Everest.
You, my friends, are following in the very footsteps of history, something beyond the power of words to describe. Human beings simply aren't built to function at the cruising altitude of a 747. Our bodies will be literally dying. Everest is another beast altogether.
Rob Hall, who had climbed Mount Everest multiple times, including 93, 94, announced that he was leading an expedition to Everest and taking 8 clients in May 1996. The team was assembled from US, from Japan, from all over the world, and they reached the base camp in the end of March. The other team was led by American Scott Fisher. Rob Hall's team had 2 guides. They were Andy Harris and Mike Groom. Scott Fisher's team had 2 guides, Neil Biederman and the legendary Russian Anatoly Bukreev. Adventure consultants, 8 clients: Frank Fishbeck, Doug Hansen, Stuart Hutchinson, Luke Ashike, John Krakow, Yasuko Namba, John Taske, Beck Weathers. Mountain Madness, 8 clients: Martin Adams, Charlotte Fox, Lane Gamelgard, Dale Cruz, Tim Madsen, Sandy Hill Pittman, Pete Schoening, and Clev Schoening. Rob Hall's approach to climbing mountains was about methodology and systems. He accounted for every eventuality. He was working as if this is a consulting firm. That's why the name Adventure Consultants. His system was thorough, intricate, and proven to be successful. He treated clients as willing but unable, that he wanted to help the clients go up Mount Everest. However, the other team, which was led by charismatic Scott Fisher, an American, had a different approach. He treated clients as willing but able to climb Mount Everest. The climbers could go up and down the mountain, and he would help along with the Sherpas when it was necessary. However, Rob Hall wanted people to be led. Scott Fisher felt mountaineers should be able to climb and he will help when it is needed. There was clearly a difference between the two. Anatoly Bukreev, the Russian, was wanted as a guide by both Rob Hall and Scott Fisher. In fact, in this new environment of competition, so writes John Krakow in his book, Into Thin Air, guides would be judged by the number of clients they take up Mount Everest. A new era had begun. Both the teams reached from base camp, past the Khumbu Icefall, to Camp 1, to Camp 2, to Camp 3, and then they reached Camp 4, which is 7,950 meters. Above Camp 4 is where the dead zone starts. Both teams agreed that May 9th was the window they had received to climb and make the summit. It so happened that all these teams came together up to Camp 4. But look, there were some people who fell ill, like Dale Cruz of Mountain Madness, who fell ill and had to be escorted down. Something really happened in Everest, May 1996. Fasten your seat belt to understand what really happened on Everest. Between 12 midnight and probably in the morning till about 7 o'clock, most people had reached the balcony.
Follow impossible dreams, maybe they'll do the same.
After they reached the balcony, Anatoly Bukreev and the Sherpas found out that the ropes which are required to climb the Hillary step had not been laid. Look, Rob Hall and Scott Fisher talked to each other that they will share the responsibility of fixing the ropes at the Hillary step. Now look, Rob Hall's lead Sherpa Ang Dorji, Scott Fisher's lead Sherpa Sirdar Lobsang Jangbu. With the messages understood, was something lost in translation? Was there some issues? Was it miscommunication? Was it cultural? Now this is what happened. Bukreev, along with the Sherpas, started to tie the ropes, and it took about 60 minutes. During this time, these people, the climbers, and other people were at the balcony in near freezing conditions. Anatoly Bukreev was first to go up, and he summited alone without oxygen at 1:07, which means 7 minutes past 1. By 2 p.m., which is the designated last safe time to turn around, Rob Hall, adventure consultants, John Krakow and Yasuka Namba had summited. Guide Andy Harris had also summited, which means what? Andy Harris, guide, Yasuka Namba and John Krakow. While for Mountain Madness, guide Beadleman, Anatoly Bukreev and two other clients, Adams and Schoening. So therefore, look, at this point of time, there are two clients of each who have now summited.
Rob the base.
Rob, where are you?
I'm on the top of Everest, Helen.
Bukreev began the descent at 2 p.m. But when he started the descent, he understood that storms had begun to gather around Mount Everest.
Pick up, mate. We got cloud coming up through the valley. It's a lot of...
Look, Rob Hall did not summit until 3 p.m. At 3:10 from the summit, as he was coming down, he saw Dag Hansen approaching. He went out to meet him, figured out Dag Hansen had run out of oxygen. Together, they reached the summit at 4 p.m. Dag Hansen was with Rob Hall in the 1995 Everest summit, with about 100 meters left to go. Bad weather forced them to come back. They could not make the summit. Dag Hansen's story on Everest is worth listening to. He was doing it to inspire his 4 children in the US. Dag Hansen, an ordinary postal worker, wanted to inspire his 4 children to do something extraordinary.
It's Doug Hansen.
What do you do when you're not climbing, Doug?
I deliver the mail.
First mailman on Everest?
Hope so.
I have kids. They see a regular guy can follow impossible dreams, maybe they'll do the same.
And he felt that if he, a postal worker, could do this, then perhaps others will also be inspired to do beyond their potential. Dag Hansen desperately wanted to summit. He did summit. He requested Rob Hall to help. Rob Hall did help. But look, he was going against the rules which were set on Everest. Rob Hall is a person, adventure consultants, a team of methodology and systems. However, emotion got the better of them. They summited at 4 o'clock. Scott Fisher did not reach the summit until 3:45, but he was alone and exhausted. Where were the Sherpas? Where were the other team members? Why are they even trying to do this after 2 o'clock? Is it because of the sense of competition between the two teams? Now, Everest summit success, Rob Hall, Mike Groom and Andy Harris, but 3 clients, John Krakow, Yasuka Namba, Dag Hansen, Ang Dorji Sherpa and some other Sherpas. From Mountain Madness, Scott Fisher, the leader, Neil Beadenman, the guide, and Anatoly Bukreev. But there were 6 clients who summited: Adams, Schoening, Madsen, Charlotte Fox, Gamelgard, and Hill Pittman. Lapsang Jangbu and the 3 other Sherpas also summited. The rules of Everest and the rules of many a sport have been rewritten at many times, and for Everest it was May 10th, 1996. On the descent, something else happened. Look, after 4 o'clock, there was a deadly storm which was approaching. Storms which unleashed after 4 o'clock was furious.
Doug, let's go! Hurry up!
And Rob Hall, Doug Hansen, Andy Harris, Scott Fisher, Yasuka Namba, and also a Sherpa Nawang all got stuck in that storm. Between 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock, it was really difficult on that afternoon in Everest. Bukri was given an emergency call from the base camp to help and salvage with operations.
We got people stranded up there and storm is getting worse.
Bukri went up trying to find the first person he saw was Yasuka Namba, who was almost dead. Eyes had turned porcelain white. He was only able to offer palliative, which means reducing pain. As he went up, he also found some other people. Rob Hall was desperately trying on satellite to reach base camp for oxygen, for tea, but it was very difficult.
We got a problem. We're out of gas, Doug.
Just go.
No, I'm not leaving you behind. Come on.
Rob Hall made a last phone call to his wife in the US, which was one of the most important and poignant emotional phone calls of all times. They were expecting their first daughter, and Rob Hall said, "Someday, you, me, and Sarah," and trailed off.
You, me, and that little Sarah will all go climbing together.
There's another story of Beck Weathers, the pathologist, which is called the miracle on Everest, who had turned blind due to exposure, but he was able to return to Camp 4. On that afternoon, there were 8 people who perished on Mount Everest. The 2 leaders, Rob Hall, Scott Fisher, Guide Harris, Kleins, Yasuka Namba, and some Sherpas also passed away. Were these events on Everest that afternoon due to leader failings, or was it due to follower failings? Was it due to miscommunication? What are the key takeaways? What are the transferable learnings you want to take back to your workplace? What do you consider compassion? Is it safety? Is it hope? Is it trust? The answer, my friends, is hope. The key takeaways from the Everest to the corporate leadership: hard stops, stick to criteria, stick to deadlines. Second, adapt goals when conditions change. Rigid adherence erodes value. And the third, challenge the consensus under pressure.
Rob the base.
Rob, where are you?
I'm on the top of Everest, Helen.